From Oshkosh Community Media Services, this is Oshkosh City Cable 10 and broadcast on 101.9 FM WOCT Oshkosh. Welcome to the City Manager's Report. The City Manager's Report is your preview of the next Oshkosh Common Council meeting agenda and an update from your Oshkosh City Manager. Your hosts, Emily Mikowski of Oshkosh Community Media and City Manager Mark Roloff.
Hello, and thank you for joining us on your City Manager's Report. My name is Emily Mikowski, and as always, I'm joined by your City Manager, Mark Roloff. Thank you so much for coming in today, Mark.
Great to be here, Emily.
And so, as always, we'll devote the first half of the episode to some city events, things going on around town, and the second half we'll take a look at the council meeting agenda and what's to come next Tuesday.
Great.
So, first of all, on our list here, we've got the City Hall parking lot, something that a lot of people have seen lately, finally wrapping up here. Can you tell us about that?
Sure. Well, we got really cool video, which is, I think, thanks to everybody at OCMS for putting it together. That's sort of a time lapse of what we've been going through for the past few months. Certainly a lot of inconveniences during the project. It started in the winter, as you could see, and as the project progressed, you saw a 2 million gallon stormwater detention tank get built beneath the City Hall. And the whole idea is to take care of the stormwater needs of the area that's known as the Division Street watershed, pretty much north and south of City Hall, and then bordered on the right by Division Street, not quite all the way to Main Street, and all the way west to Jackson, and up north as far as New York Avenue. So you can see the details of all the construction, essentially a big tank that got built that eventually got covered up, that we needed to get the City Hall parking lot redone. There really wasn't, we certainly wanted to get done, but this sort of facilitated it. So the real advantage is that we got really had two projects done in the time of one project.
Right.
And we're real happy that it's now all pretty much just almost a memory now, because it happened so quickly. And this is just in the past week, and now we're there where we have a parking structure.
A beautiful new parking lot.
Beautiful new. And what you don't see off camera is the, I think Scott does have some video of this, but now we're moving into phase 2 of this.
Yes.
Phase 2 is just a parking lot. No more tanks underneath or anything like that. Pretty much a general reconstruction of the parking lot. So all the cars that had been parking in the old area have now moved over into the brand new area, and they're going to be constructing this portion of the parking lot that primarily benefits the public safety building, and that's going to be going on through October. So if you're going over to some of the county court offices are actually in our public safety building, and if you're going to court in any of those courthouses, you're going to be inconvenienced a little bit. The main thing people need to recognize now is that you're only going to be able to access the City Hall parking lot from Church Avenue.
Okay.
There'll be no access.
From Algoma.
Nothing from Algoma at all. So we want to make people aware of that. But you can see there's a lot of work left to do because we're just now getting started. But this parking lot's long been in need of replacement.
Oh, yeah.
So
and hopefully to be done by October, you were saying.
That's the idea. And then next year, of course, what's the next part of this? We're not completely done with stormwater management in this area. We took care of the downstream from this pond earlier this year. The pond itself is sort of the middle of the stream, and then upstream we're going to be installing new storm sewer pretty much on Central Avenue, snaking its way north towards New York Avenue, and that will be able to collect the water much more quickly, get it into the underground tank that nobody can see anymore, cleverly disguised as a parking lot, and then slowly get it out onto Jackson Street and down to the river. So it's a wonderful project, a great example of creativity to try to identify ways to get two projects done and think very creatively, which our engineers did in this case, to address stormwater management and to address parking issues that we had at City Hall.
Yes, a necessary project and not quite the end of it. As you were saying, the next phase or the next part of this stormwater project is going to be over on Central Avenue.
Right, and that'll be all in 2014, so
Yes.
bear with us, we'll get it done, but every step at a time, and we're very pleased that we're impacting stormwater management in a positive fashion.
Great. And another visual project that we've got going on this week actually is the Canadian National Railroad Bridge replacement. The navigation right now is closed, I'm understanding. It's supposed to be done on Friday. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Well, this isn't a city project, but the Canadian National Railroad has, tried to keep us in the loop on things. The bridge itself was officially replaced on August 19th, as you can see from the video here. But even though the bridge is done and the trains are crossing the bridge, the mechanism to move it and open it for boat navigation is not yet done. And as we're taping this show on August 22nd, that work is still not done. We were advised it would be done by Friday, August 23rd. We hope that that's the case, but things can go wrong, things can get delayed. But right now, navigation is not available. And then also over on Washington and Wagoo Avenues, those two streets are closed to traffic right now because they were making some minor adjustments to the tracks there. And while they've made the changes to the tracks, the restoration for cross traffic still isn't done. So those two things will get done. So unfortunately for events like Waterfest this week, a lot of people usually go through the bridge to get to Waterfest. You have to pick your side. You're either on the lake side, you're on the river side tonight.
Right.
But the project is close to completion, and hopefully this will speed up traffic going through the city, minimize delays that people are experiencing at the railroad crossings, and hopefully make it a less annoying experience for people trying to cross the tracks.
Right. And we've also got some other railroad items, a lot of things going on with railroads recently. So first off, the Snell Road Quiet Zone. The train has been blowing horns, and it's been kind of an inconvenience to some people. So can you tell me that the train won't be blowing anymore?
I can't say it's going to be blowing anymore, but you're going to see a drastic reduction.
Okay.
Because by law, we had to go through a lot of regulations to get this quiet zone approved. And it has since been approved, and it's in place now. So you should see a drastic reduction if you live over in that Snell Road, County A area, the noise. But by law, they're still required to blow horns if there's a construction zone nearby, or if there's any blockage, whether it's real or imagined. I mean, if they think there's a problem, they have an obligation and a responsibility to blow that horn. But I think for general crossings, no obstructions, no problems, no construction going on, you're going to see a drastic reduction in that. So I think the residents in that area have had to be patient. They came to the council several years ago asking for this. It's a very time-consuming process, but now it's done, and we're very happy that the quiet zone's in there. But it shows you that the bureaucracy of dealing with the railroad and the safety issues associated with the railroad can take some time.
Also, with the convenience factor, the truck loading on Allerton Drive has been going on by a different railroad, however. It's the Southern Wisconsin and Southern Railroad on the other side of town. Can you tell us a little bit more about that and what's been going on over there?
Well, the neighbors there, as you can see from the video, or the graphic here, it's really important to see that this is a residential area, and the lower right part of the screen, you can see where the tracks come in, and they literally back up right into these folks' yards. There's very little fencing. This track was inactive for a number of years because it was a dead end at the end of this track. They've since begun using it to load trucks. They're contracted with Oshkosh Corporation to deliver the trucks to the Army, and that's where they've decided to set up their loading area. There's some interstate commerce issues that we're dealing with because the railroad, believe that they have a right to load wherever their tracks are. We respectfully disagree with that because this is not intended to be a loading zone for
and
trucks.
It's definitely not a quiet process by any means. So you're trying to ask the railroad to limit their hours of loading? There's
two things. That's the first one. Until such time that we we'd really like to get them to move completely. We don't think it's appropriate to be loading trucks and doing rail loadings in a residential area. And even though the railroad can claim they were there first, they went away for a very long time, and there was no expectation, I think, that rail service would be coming back to that area. It was pretty much a dead end. There have been trains backing up in the past, but only backing up. Now they're actively loading as heavy a truck as you can imagine onto these rail cars. So what we'd like them to do is move, and we're trying to work with them, and we've made some suggestions. We're hopefully going to be meeting in the next week to go over some of the ideas that we've brought forward. But to your point, as far as getting them to change their hours, that's really a short-term solution. We would like to see the railroad show a little bit of good faith to the neighbors who are getting disrupted, because these rail loadings are going on 50 feet away from these folks' bedrooms.
At late hours of the evening.
Yeah, middle of the night. I mean, we're talking 1:32 in the morning. You can talk about you're legally allowed to do it, but common courtesy dictates that you have some consideration for this. And to Oshkosh Corporation's credit, they've told us they would not load these trucks anytime other than 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. And for the most part, they've been finishing by noon, 1 o'clock. So the railroad could come get those cars. We're trying to get them to understand the need to do this during more reasonable hours, because how many other areas are they loading in a residential zone? And Oshkosh Corporation is doing everything they can to get these trucks loaded by midday. So can they please accommodate these neighbors out of just decent consideration to just move them away at a more reasonable time, until such time as we can find an alternate location for them.
And hopefully we can find that alternate location soon. These people have been having to deal with that for about 2 or 3 years, you said, so.
Correct. And, it's interesting because earlier this year, back in May, we'd had a meeting with them. Oshkosh Corporation facilitated a meeting, and it was the first time we had met with them in 9 months, and no progress had been made. And after that meeting, the complaints dropped because the residents told me that it wasn't getting loaded as frequently at night anymore. It had pretty much dropped off. Then come July 1, they started to pick up again. So they clearly can juggle their schedules. I know it may be difficult for them, but where else are you loading 50 feet from somebody's bedroom window? Some common courtesy has to get factored in here.
All right. And something else that's going to be affecting Oshkosh residents in this area is a Time Warner cable conversion that's really going to affect even viewers of this show right now and viewers of government meetings and viewers on CATV2. What's going to be happening is Time Warner Cable is planning to convert our analog channels to digital. That's going to happen on September 11th. Would you like to tell our viewers a little bit more about what's going to be happening?
Well, it's because they're switching it to digital, it changes depending on what type of TV you have. If you're a cheapskate like me and you have those old big box TVs, you're going to need a converter box, and you're going to have to. I believe until January of 2015, the converter box is going to be available at no cost. After that, there's going to be a charge associated with it. We don't regulate that cost, but we want people to be able to access this show, your city at work, city council meetings, and the only way you're going to do that with the old TVs is you got to get one of those converter boxes. If you've got a TV that is a little more modern, that
has a QAM tuner in it.
QAM tuner, yeah. Yes. I'm learning all this technical
all the
stuff.
Technical lingo.
But if you got the ability to do the dash, you got to just rescan your TV, and it'll pick it up.
Simple as that.
And the third option is if you already have a cable box, you're going to be okay.
Nothing will change.
Nothing will change. You'll be okay there. So those are the kind of the three options. We're going to be doing some PSAs on it. I believe Time Warner Cable has already sent out something to their customers to be aware of it. So we want to make people aware of it before they lose the show, and then they say, "What happened? I always had it." So take a look at the mailer from Time Warner Cable. Look for our PSAs. And I believe there's something on our website.
Yes, again, the change will be taking place on September 11th. You can go to our website, oshkoshcommunitymedia.org, to look at our frequently asked questions document to help you better understand your situation based on the equipment that you have. And you can also, like you said, catch our PSAs, and we'll be plugging it on the government meetings as well. So hopefully we can get everybody aware of this before the change happens on September 11th, so we don't have anybody trying to see our programs and then not getting them.
They'll miss us so much, right?
I know, they will. So on another level, we've got the latest budget workshop that we had last week. What were the issues? Can you tell me about it?
Sure. The council's asked that we had some budget workshops with them earlier to give them a flavor of what they're going to be looking at with the upcoming 2014 budget. And we had a work session on August 14th. That was our second in a series of 3 workshops with the council. Before the budget's even presented to them, they want to be able to get a flavor of what exactly we're facing. And we gave them some very broad numbers, some things that we're looking at, health insurance going up 20%, and also some other financial issues related to some other funds. But they wanted to know before they got the budget what we're going to be facing as staff before we get there. So we're probably looking at in the neighborhood of $2.8 million gap that we're going to have to fill as we're reviewing the budget and as we're preparing what we ultimately recommend to council. So we got a lot of work ahead of us.
And what can you expect that's going to be done to fill that gap? That's a pretty big gap to fill, I would say.
Yeah, it's a little premature. I know there were some people asking me, are there going to be layoffs? Are there going to be this? Are there going to be that? The departments have just now started to get me their budget submittals. The 2.8 million number is a projection that we put together with finance. It's a very educated estimate, but it's still not based on actual submittals yet. So it's premature to say, it's going to be a layoff, it's going to be this or going to be that. But we wanted the council to understand the depth of what we're looking at. We will present a balanced budget to council. It's just a question of how. So we've got to take a look in the next month on the budget submittals and determine where we go with that.
All right, and we've got the next budget meeting coming up. The third one is going to be on September 25th at 5:30. You can see it live on City Cable 10 or also on OshkoshCommunityMedia.org. So now we're going to head into one of the most popular segments of this show is Question Mark, a chance where the viewers get to see, ask a question to Mark and he can answer it as best as he can. So let's take a look and see what the question is this week. I love that face. So the question this week, Mark, is when will I get the Packer games back on TV? That's been a big topic the past few weeks here. So
yeah, well, it sure has. I wish I could give a more definitive answer because the state has effectively taken away local government authority to regulate these types of things. And so this really is an issue between Time Warner Cable and, in this case, NBC 26. So until they resolve those issues, it's going to be tough. Now, most of the preseason games, I believe, are on NBC 26. So right now, we're missing the games. Come the regular season, it'll only be the Sunday night games. That's no consolation for people who say, in this case, the question had to do with the Packer games. It's really all of the NBC affiliate in Green Bay. Until they work those things out, we're not going to get it. The short-term answer is we've heard from different people through Facebook and other social media outlets that, well, you can look at, if you can get the digital converter box that allows you to take a look at broadcast, you can get channel 26 that way. Or some people have gone as far as tuning into the Spanish simulcast on Telemundo, and that is still available on Time Warner. And then you listen to the radio, which is a little ahead of the game. There's ways to do it. But for now, I'm not getting any indication that it's going to happen anytime soon. Hopefully, they'll both realize the errors of their ways and they'll find some agreement.
Hopefully by the regular season, like you said, so we can catch those Sunday night games on something other than the Spanish channel.
There you go.
So we're going to take a quick break. Coming up next, we'll go over our city council meeting agenda and what's to come on Tuesday. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Mayor Bergtauer, and I'm asking for your help. The city has several boards and commissions that play important roles in just about every aspect of local government. Whether it's the Parks Board or the Landmarks Commission, these and other boards act as a forum for citizens to address their concerns and questions about Oshkosh city government. The boards also provide members the opportunity to make positive suggestions to the council or city staff to move the city forward. So here's where we need your help. For our city to work effectively, we need active citizen participation. Many of our boards and commissions currently need members. We're asking for just a few hours of your time each month to serve on one of our boards or commissions and help to ensure a strong democratic process. So please consider serving on a city board or commission. For an application, visit the city website, stop by the city manager's office in City Hall, or call 236-5000. Thank you for your interest, and we look forward to your possible involvement.
Hello, and thanks again for joining us on your City Manager's Report. I'm here with Mark Roloff, and now it's time to talk about the City Council meeting agenda coming up for this Tuesday, August 27th at 6 p.m. You can watch it live on City Cable 10 or on OshkoshCommunityMedia.org. So first on here that we'd like to talk about is item number 6, having to do Resolution 13-399, having to do with hazardous materials services with the state of Wisconsin. So this has to do with the fire department, is that right?
It sure does. It's something that we're actually very proud of. There are very few fire departments in the state that are certified by the state to provide regional hazardous material services. In this case, we've been one of the few fire departments selected that we get some money from the state, and in exchange, we train our personnel on some specific hazardous materials training that the state mandates in exchange for this money. And then we've got these people available right here in Oshkosh with a hazardous material spill. They can respond at a moment's notice. Our obligation in exchange for that is if there's any similar spills anywhere else, that we're required to help respond to that, and we'll get reimbursed for those services if we respond.
Okay, and can you give me an example of what a spill would be? What constitutes a hazardous material?
Probably the best example I can use, some people may recall that back in 1996 there was the big Wyawega spill that virtually shut down the community. We helped respond to that event because small communities like that just don't have the resources to respond. The state gives us some of those tools so that we can assist in responding. So it really is a good trade-off. We get good training, we get good responsiveness at the local level, and then other communities can make use of those resources in the very narrow event that it takes place.
Great. Moving on to item number 7, having to do with utility easement to AT&T for some boxes. What are these boxes?
This is AT&T Uverse. That's the competitor to Time Warner Cable. They've wanted to get more of a presence in the city, and they've got these boxes that are really the size of small refrigerators that are pretty unsightly. And we would like to keep them out of the public right-of-way because of how unsightly they are. Plus, they can provide a maintenance problem for us as we maintain snow and things like that. So our pledge to them is if they look for places outside of the public right-of-way, we'll work with them. They identified a location, and this is in the area of 6th and Sawyer, that they would be, they asked if they could put it over at the Killian Spanbauer Field. And so we're willing to do that so that they don't put it in the right-of-way, or perhaps put it in somebody's yard. Small yards in that neighborhood, it would really be disruptive to them. We're willing to do those things in exchange for them working with us on that.
Okay, great. And then moving on to item number 9, Resolution 13-402, and the next one actually, approval for a couple of special events. We've got the Tough Mudder coming up at the EAA grounds. Can you tell us about that?
Well, I think the promotion is a bit out there for that event, and it's not for me to promote the event. It really, I really want to talk about this because it gives you an idea of the demand that events like this. We're expecting 20,000 people for this event. If you want to participate, there's plenty of websites out there that you can do that, but the challenge for us with special events is the impact it has on the resources of the city. And in this case, for 20,000 people, a lot of crowd control. Because it's on the EAA grounds, some of that's done by the county because it's outside the city, and the city provides some services for which we charge. But the real event here is our fire department, because the injury rate at an event like this is actually pretty high.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We've been told from people we've talked to, other fire departments, that it will put a strain on our hospitals if we don't have first responders and ambulance units out there. So we're going to have 14 of our firefighters out there on overtime in addition to our standard covering the city. So that puts a big strain on our fire resources, and that's what people don't think about when they're thinking about the special events. Or of course, we love the business impact it has on the community, but it does put a strain on city resources, and we have to be responsive to that.
Right, definitely being thoughtful of the safety of the participants in that manner.
Yeah.
Moving on to item number 10, Resolution 13-403, another special event, Fall Family Fun Fest coming up on September 8th, Grandparents' Day.
A little less strenuous than, say, the Tough Mudder.
Yeah, I'd say so.
And a lot of people have the misconception that because it's at the senior center, because it's on Grandparents' Day, that, oh, it's just for senior citizens. Well, it's a chance for grandparents to be bonding with their grandchildren, but it's a very family fun event.
Right.
So if you're not going to the Tough Mudder and you want something a little mellower, I would certainly look at the Fall Fest. I believe it starts at 11 o'clock and goes till 4 o'clock. So on September 8th, that's a Sunday, it's Grandparents' Day. Great family fun event. Not all our events are edgy types of events. We're very pleased and proud to have so many different family-oriented events. And this is just one example. So even if you're not a grandparent, take in the event.
It's open for anyone.
It's open for anybody. It's a great event for kids. A lot of games, a lot of activities.
And I just remembered, actually, they're having a fun walk. The Granny Smith Apple Fun Walk is on that day as well. So you can take advantage of the walk and then also go and have some fun at Family Fun Fest.
You bet. And we'll be plugging that again later on.
All right, moving on to item number 16. We're going to discuss some of the 6-month review of the bus routes. What can you tell us about that?
Well, a lot of folks, if they follow the city council meeting, at the last meeting, we had a number of people step forward. Most of them were with a county committee, but there were some residents as well. Concerns about the new bus routes we have, and we certainly want to be open to that discussion, and the council said, well, maybe we should do a 6-month review. Some council members think that maybe we need to take a look at it a little earlier. And the Transit Board actually discussed it this past week in the Transit Advisory Board, saying if we want to make some changes, we may want to consider them before the snow flies, which actually may require a little earlier review. And there are some areas that are of concern. Certainly the hospitals are one. I think we have to take a look at those things. I think we have to clear up some misinformation. There was a statement made at the meeting that we're not providing service to this clinic anymore. Well, we haven't provided that service, door-to-door service to that clinic in 4 years because the clinic requested us to get out of their parking lot. So there's some misinformation.
Kind of separating fact from fiction a little bit in that aspect.
We want to make sure that we're being responsive, and there's some other incidents like that, but we also want to make sure that we make an educated decision. And we also want to make sure that the public is aware of these things. We're hearing people complain now that the routes have been changed, but we got a lot of comments to make changes to the route system. So before we undo that, we got to make sure that we're deliberative. And we've got some ideas to make sure we get better public participation, but we get it done a little quicker. So we're looking forward to those things.
Great. And then last on our items to talk about today is item number 18, an announcement that you need to make about an emerald ash borer, some information coming up in a meeting that's coming up too.
I hate to have bad news at the end of the show, but this is bad news.
It is.
We've talked about emerald ash borers so much throughout the state, but an emerald ash borer has been found in Winnebago County. On August 1, it was found in the town of Black Wolf. It's subsequently also been found in the town of Nakaimai. So what happens is the Department of Natural Resources starts working on a local program, and they're going to have an informational meeting. It's going to be Thursday, August 29th at 6 p.m. over at Whitman Regional Airport in the terminal conference room. That's right on 20th Avenue, the airport. You'll learn about emerald ash borer and what you can do to deal with it in this area.
Okay, so if I don't have an ash tree, should I be concerned about this?
Yes, you should, because the biggest thing that you can do, even if you don't have an ash tree, is don't transport wood. I'm not an expert on wood. If I get a log, you don't want to move it from place to place because that can spread the bug in this case, and we want to contain it to as small an area as possible.
Great. So that informational meeting will be on September 25th at 5:30. Excuse me, that's not the right date. It'll 29th. Be on August 29th at 6. The City Council meeting will be this Tuesday, the 27th at 6 p.m. You can catch it on City Cable 10 or on our website, oshkoshcommunitymedia.org. Thank you so much for joining me today, Mark, and for telling us a little bit about what we can expect on Tuesday. Also, you can check us out on oshkoshcommunitymedia.org, Facebook, Twitter, also on YouTube. or you can listen to us on the radio at 101.9 WOCT. Thanks again for joining us on your City Managers Report, and we'll see you next time.